This wasn't what we were expecting. This is something new. This is going to be a change in our life forever.
We met in 2002 through a mutual friend, and we were engaged within about 8 months and married about a year after that.
I think we both grew up in great families, and for me, I just imagined that life was going to be kind of like that.
But after about 3 years, we felt that it was time to expand our family and got pregnant relatively easily and had a very textbook, happy, healthy pregnancy that culminated in the birth of this beautiful little red-headed daughter named Molly. So we first found out about Jack when I went in for a week 18 ultrasound, what I thought was going to be a very routine ultrasound. And when the doctor didn't come back into the room for an extended period of time, I started to wonder if maybe something was awry. And finally he did come back into the room, and he looked at me and he said, "There's a problem. We think there's something wrong with your child's heart." At that point, we were referred to a pediatric cardiologist here in town pretty quickly who performed an echocardiogram and confirmed that at the time he thought that Jack had a congenital heart defect. As we neared his delivery date, we learned that there were multiple congenital heart defects. We were told to really expect the unexpected because we wouldn't have a true picture of what Jack would be facing until after he was born.
It was very scary, and we didn't know what the future was going to hold for us.
I was still in the maternity ward those first few days, and every time Alan would come back to the room, it seemed like he would have an additional little bit of bad news about how complicated his heart condition was and what it was going to take to get him where he needed to be, and how completely uncertain his outcome was going to be. I just remember hanging on from moment to moment.
You know, it was really tough right when Jack was born, being a dad and being a husband, seeing everything that everybody's going through and trying to hold the whole thing together as best you can without really knowing what was going to happen to Jack. One out of a million kids will have his condition. So he's literally 1 out of a million. And really up until about 30 or 40 years ago, any kid that was born with this condition wouldn't live more than 24 to 48 hours. After we got through his first surgery and his second surgery at 6 months, there was still going to be another 3 years or so until he was ready for his third open heart surgery.
We were speaking to the pediatric cardiologist, and he said, you know, you have such big issues and big decisions to make. But he said, I just want to say this. These heart kids are magical. He is a daily reminder of what's important in life. He has a certain lightness about him that I think we should all have. Shortly after Jack was born, Molly noticed 2 candy canes that were actually in the shape of a heart. And she said, "Hey, look, Mom, that's a heart. Those candy canes make a heart." And all of a sudden we started seeing them in tree trunks and clouds and the grain of wood. And so we started taking pictures. Over the years, we've amassed over 550 pictures of hearts in nature that just bring us joy. You know, having Jack as a brother has had an enormous impact on Molly. From the very beginning, she would listen to his heart with a stethoscope And I can remember she always used to look up and say, "Good news, it's still beeping." But she pushed meds through his NG tube. She helped me drop feeding tubes. She was just very involved from the very beginning.
You know, when you meet Jack, he is always going at 100 miles an hour. He is all boy and loves to play and jump, but he's also all smiles. He's never met a stranger. The other day we were somewhere and he had met them a week before, and he walked into the room and he just waved over at him and said, "Hey, how you doing?" When people ask me about Jack, I always say he's going to be the mayor one day.
We owe a debt of gratitude to the American Heart Association. I think they absolutely played a role in getting Jack to this point and will play a role in his future. There is currently not a plan B for Jack, so it is going to rely on research and awareness, and those are two things that the American Heart Association is all about. In a very real and direct way, giving to the American Heart Association supports what will be the future for Jack and children like Jack and heart patients everywhere.